Hi, I'm Gerd Leonhard again. Thanks for tuning in for the third time at Future Talk in Bern. And this will be my third round to speak about artificial intelligence and the future and what that means for education and work. So thanks very much, and we hope to distribute the video also to all of you and as a giveaway, so you can watch it again if you wish. So let's define artificial intelligence again. It's a great definition I have here from Demis Hassabis, the CEO of DeepMind in London, now owned by Google, that says artificial intelligence really is a computer system that turn information and data into knowledge, leading us to what what many people call the cognitive systems era. Imagine a machine that can turn things into knowledge. Isn't that what makes us human, knowledge? Well, it turns out that's not the only thing that makes us human, because knowledge is all different kinds of knowledge, and I'll talk about that shortly. But what kind of knowledge do machines have? Well, binary knowledge, calculating knowledge, logical knowledge. Will that eventually change? Probably. But for the time being, that's what machines do. Right? We are not binary. We're not data. We're not machines. And machines are binary. Right? And so the questions that come up when you think about knowledge and education and training, what about tacit knowledge, the stuff that we know, that we don't talk about, that's not explicit. Implicit knowledge, stuff between the lines. Embodied knowledge, things that is like embodied intelligence and social intelligence. Unknown knowledge. Martin Minsky has a great quote on this, which I'll share with you later. And imaginative knowledge, the knowledge of being able to imagine something that is not real. Right? I mean, that's not yet real. Foresight, right? And understanding. And this is basically what we do as humans. Right? Looking at this chart, it shows what people around the world are thinking and the likelihood of 50 years of robots and computers replacing the work done by humans. In Greece, the highest probability that people think, probably and definitely, it's a huge chunk, almost 80%, right? Japan, Canada, and here we are, the United States has the lowest, the most optimistic outlook on this, but clearly that's a worry. Machines are going to take over. They're going to do what we used to do. What do we actually do with them? Are we all going to lose our work? Well, unlikely, right? And that is because really what's happening is that a machine is very good at anything that's really hard for us, including lots of information and looking at 1 trillion data feeds. That's not what we do. And Luciano Floridi, who is a great researcher in this turf, he showed me a quote about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, saying that algorithms outperform humans when it's not about understanding emotional states, intentions, interpretations, deep semantic skills, consciousness, self-awareness. In other words, the things that make us human. That's what makes us cognitive, conscious, right? And what makes us exist. That's what machines don't do. And I think ultimately this is really what we have to focus on, because machines will be able to do pretty much anything else. Basically, routine work is going to be given to the machines. And this slide is 3 years old. I'm showing to you by purpose because it's non-routine cognitive work already increasing on this slide, and that includes the non-routine manual work. But anything that's routine is already decreasing, right? And quite clearly, when we're looking at this, what humans do is exactly the opposite. We do the non-routine stuff, curiosity, foresight, purpose, critical thinking. Try to find a computer with purpose. Good luck. I mean, a computer could always pretend to have purpose, like they do already. Right? And again, an old slide from the World Economic Forum talking about the new skills. And here we are in 2020, and they are here, right? It's all about critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, cognitive flexibility. It's not so much about the logic only and the firepower of the brain. Right? It's about the imaginative power of the brain. And that's true, I think, no matter what position you're in, whether you're talking about kindergarten or schools or colleges or training and learning and development at companies, this is going to be our future quite clearly, because machines are learning this, right? They're learning all of the routines. And yes, these are routines that can be learned. Well, they are complicated to be sure, but machines are learning them. And Amazon is automating everything in their warehouses. And that means computers can eventually drive. Well, not entirely like us, but the goodbye routines is really an important story. But here's the bottom line. The end of routine tasks does not mean the end of human work. It means a different human work. Look at the stat from Amazon. That shows how Amazon has automated and at the same time has gained a huge amount of employees for everything else that they're doing. Right? So I think that's quite hopeful to a future if we are prepared and if we have the skills, technical skills, human skills, creative skills, the things that machines can't do, human-only work, as I like to call it, right? Because the reality is this, people are thinking, well, you know, if all that automation happens, maybe I become useless. Well, that's far from it. What becomes useless is our routine. It's the commodity work, the grunt work, the donkey work, whatever you want to call it, that all of us have to do at some point or the other. So whether you're a lawyer doing a non-disclosure agreement or a truck driver going 1,000 kilometers on the slow lane, just kind of going along in a truck train, as we have already experienced in the U.S. and in Bavaria, those jobs can be partly automated. Right? Anything that can be automated will be. That's the rule of digital Darwinism. But the reverse is also true. Anything that cannot be digitized, automated, virtualized, robotized, cognitized, becomes extremely valuable. And that is us. Those are the skills of our future: imagination, ethics, empathy, consciousness. Well, that's not a skill, it's a state of being. Right? And should a computer be conscious, a robot? Well, I think that's not going to be to our benefit if they are, because that's the opposite. That's our spectrum, right? Computers are good at things that are hard for us and vice versa, and I think that's going to be our foreseeable future, especially when we talk about artificial intelligence like this, where we see machines well, no, I wouldn't say thinking, calculating and creating patterns and finding new things that we are not able to see, but on top of that, our skills should fare pretty well. And this is really the future, as humanity on top of technology. It's human skills that are accelerated through machine skills. So the logic of machines, the calculating power and the processing power, but then our sentience, our existence, our values, our ethics, and some people would say sapience, right? Our wisdom, our learnings, the stuff that we can feel, that we can't prove. When we put that together, I think we should have a pretty good future on this, but we have to kind of do away with this concept that it's all about efficiency. And this has been the industrial era obsession with profit margin optimization. That's over now because of COVID, right? Now we're saying, well, it's not going to be about efficiency anymore, that much anymore. It's going to be about resilience and adaptation and agility and reinventing and pivoting. Right? Clearly, we should let go of this concept of being the maximum efficient that we can be. And yeah, that's not a human concept. This is really quite a different story. So when Buckminster Fuller again says, mistakes are great, the more I make, the smarter I get. That is not something that a computer would agree with. And this is really a guiding principle for education. Right? Let's make mistakes. Let's figure out stuff. Let's experiment. Let's not make a de-genius process, pulling the genius out of people when they go to school or when they take our learning and development courses, right? Removing the genius to download more information, that's a very bad idea. So this future is quite clearly unfolding in front of us, and as we go into this direction, we're saying, well, a computer could be extremely smart, but data information is not knowledge. It's just data. It's not understanding. It is not wisdom. It's not purpose. It is just data and information. And yes, I put the asterisks behind knowledge because data information is a kind of a knowledge, right? A kind of it, not a version of it that is apart from our own version. So computer knowledge we can certainly use. We don't want computers to have wisdom. Well, wisdom in terms of numbers, yes. We need to rehumanize what we do in education and in training. We need to look at our vocational training and say, well, really what we need is more human skills, because in the end, the ultimate job that we will have is to be human. And maybe it will not be useful for work as we know it today, because in 20 years it could well be that we will only have to work, in the current sense, for 2 hours a day, because the machines do everything else and get paid the same, right? So rehumanizing education, in my view, is crucial. Combining the science and the arts, as Steve Jobs has said many times, that is the ticket to our future. combining science and arts. And we're clearly going to see a future where this idea from the Renaissance, how we find our place in the world that we live in, what was called the Vitruvian man, can be adapted, and I use that now called the Vitruvian, the Neoluvian man, right? Which is essentially about all the technology that's cruising around us and changing our world to a very large degree. We have to readjust to this. And of course, that's also true if you're a woman, not just if you're a man. And that is going to take a lot of collaboration and also dealing with uncertainty. We live in a world of perpetual VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, and we have to develop new skills to deal with this. We have to develop new relationships to support us in this process. I call this a sort of a new renaissance, a human renaissance. The importance of being human is going to be much more emphasized in the future. I don't mean being human in the sense of the Anthropocene, everything is about us, nothing else, not that. Right? It's clearly going to be about people, planet, purpose, and all of that together, but education must lead the way to rehumanize what we do and how we work in the future. Arm in arm with science and technology and engineering and mathematics. So I leave it with a final quote. This is a quote from my book that has become sort of the best summary that I have in this book, is embrace technology, but don't become technology. I think it applies very much to education, training, learning and development for the future. So thanks very much for tuning in. It's been a great pleasure to speak to you and hopefully with you. And I hope you enjoyed my contributions and have a good rest of the conference. And thanks very much. See you down the road.